On my way into Northfield, I'll tell you what, it was one of those Mondays where when your eyes open, I'm thinking, not going to be it was 7:45, 10 to 8, which is a little bit late anyway. If the kids were in school today, I would have been late for school. Obviously, I would have set my alarm. Maybe. So I woke up and I'm like, it's not going to be a bad day. We don't have a ton of stuff to do. I got a little bit of stuff to do, but that could take the middle of the morning. I want to go in. I want to train Woodmere Betcha slow mile. She's in. So I had said in my videos, hey, you know what? Woodmere Betcha can race in the series. That'll fit her perfect, but it's the third leg. Will she get in the final at the Meadows? Yo Mister, he's got too much money made last 4 or 5. I don't know what we're going to do with Yo Mister. Probably going to take him over to the Meadows. I guess he's going to have to race in the Open. We'll see how that goes. There was just a lot going on. And then Jason and I spoke briefly about Woodmere Betcha going to Miami Valley, Yo Mister going to Miami Valley. But he just went ahead and put them in. What's he supposed to do? It's his job. So I said I'd send Tim a text this morning. Is Yo Mister's class going to fill? He said, Yo Mister's class already did fill. He's in to go Wednesday at Miami Valley. So I'm not down to drive. So when I put my stuff into the USDA, I didn't notice that those 2 horses were in to go. So regardless, I guess it's actually probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. And in the case of Woodmere Betcha, I think that's actually maybe even a better class for her than the one at the Meadows. So that's fine. Whatever. No big deal. A ton of emails to answer today, and they weren't the ones who just say, yes, your horse is doing good, trained in 255, or yes, the horse schooled the other day. These were, a couple of them were newer clients that were asking, questions that needed to be responded to. You almost have to switch gears. Many of you out there, think of it this way. There's almost a little over 900 clients, and you all have various levels of knowledge and understanding of horse racing. But the less the understanding and the knowledge, the more particular you have to be with the way you answer those questions. They can't be the way I talk in my video all the time, because that lingo, so to speak, or that level of understanding is not there, right? And it has to be respected. We want to bring tons of people into the game. I want to have these questions to answer, but you have to answer them a little bit differently. So that took a little bit of time this morning. By the time I got going, I get out the door. I know I'm 4 minutes from Starbucks, but it's kind of 4 or 5 minutes out of the way. So it's a net loss of like 10 minutes going over to Brunswick. Now, you could go to the one right by on your way to Northfield, but how minutes you don't have time to drink your drink, right? You're 5 minutes away that way. You're 22 to 25 minutes away that way. That is almost the appropriate amount of time to drink your drink. Just as I started down the road, it almost gets me every time. But today it didn't. I looked up at the top of the thing and it said 12 to 16 minute wait. It's never 12 to 16 minutes. It's closer to 20. 3 to 6 minutes is 3 to 6 minutes. 5 to 8 minutes. You guys know this if you're Starbucks people. 5 to 8 minutes is 5 to 8 minutes. But once you start getting up into the double digits, it's like, we'll do our best. We'll get it when we can. And I wasn't going to fall for it. So I just went with the hard no. I changed the location to Macedonia, made my way over to Northfield. I'm pulling in right now. Now, lots of horses to jog this morning. As I said, I want to go with Woodmere Betcha first and foremost. And the biggest thing for me today, obviously, give you a rundown of what took place last night, my feelings. With respect to Nassau, I've already had a couple of messages today saying, Anthony, you're moving horses. I know we have money into Nassau, but didn't look like he's going to suit us very well. That's a fair assessment. There's nothing more frustrating and quite frankly a little embarrassing, as I said to Steve this morning, than getting a horse that looks like he's going to make an immediate impact. Not only does he make an immediate impact, he makes none at all. As a trainer, and I'm sure Jason will tell you the same thing, it is a little disappointing when you get a horse and they don't pan out, and it happens, right? We were lucky enough to flesh it out quickly with respect to where is Anthony going to park today? There's a lot of snow here. We were lucky enough to flesh it all out with respect to Legal Scholar. I just didn't feel that was going to work out, and it didn't. And it hasn't for them either. He's still worth what they paid for him, but he wasn't going to make that impact that we needed him to make also. So, we moved on from him quickly, and there's horses we're going to move on for. There's horses that we're going to lose money with. Another horse I'm going to talk about in a minute, we are going to lose money with. But there's going to be other horses we do well with. You can't win all the time. You certainly don't want to lose all the time, but you want to be on the better end of the first one than the second. So when it comes to Nassau, I'm waiting for his blood. But if his blood comes back poor, fine, we'll work on it. I'm sure you can tell by the tone of my voice. I don't know what it's going to come back like. He looks great now. They've done a great job with him. He looks great. He just isn't racing great. And doesn't look like he's going to race great. And if that's the case, I'm going to have to do the same thing as all my partners on Nassau. Bite the bullet and move on. That's just the way it is. There are more horses. What we want to do is find as many Tally the Tabs and Bridge Over Broadways and even Allures as we can find. But along the way, you're going to step in a couple of puddles, let's say. And recognizing what you stepped in and rectifying the situation quickly is what it's all about. And we're going to do the best we can with respect to Nassau. But before we get down any of those paths, hit the brakes, draw the blood, and see what it says. So that was the bookend, the further bookend of the night. To start the night, the far left, the bookend there on that side was Winter Soldier. You've heard me talk thousands of times, probably over the last decade, about liver counts. No, probably the last 5-6 years, mostly, about liver counts and how some of the horses just seem lethargic. Winter Soldier was not himself his last two starts. In fact, his last start, I said, feels like he's a little tired. Maybe he does need a rest. His liver count was high, and then I remembered when we bought the horse, hearing from people that his liver was an issue before. So we've been working very, very hard on it. Now, as much as the liver count probably played a little bit of a role last night, Justin did also. It's twice he got me now in the last 2 weeks. He moved out of the hole, and I'm like, you know what? I wasn't planning on moving this early with him. I just want him trotting hard on the end of it. But it looked like the two favorites up front were kind of going to get away on everybody. At the time, I guess they were sitting first and third. Horse in the 2-hole looked like he was all out of soap. Justin's horse was bet down. I'd driven him. He's an okay horse. I'd driven him, but he should have been able to take me halfway down the backstretch. He immediately moved out. I moved out on his helmet. Somebody moved to the inside of me, and he walked. Stuck right in the way. So I'm 3 wide where I don't want to be 3 wide. I get down to the 2 wide path, and actually I'm lucky. Chris Lems could have forced his way out and left me 3 wide. I would have if I was him. But he let me drop down into the 2 wide path and attack that way, and he was an easy third. His liver count is coming down, and as it descends, you're going to see him come back to life. I can say that now confidently after driving him last night. He was good. He wasn't the way he was before, but he's on his way, and I was very happy with Winter Soldier last night. Bridge Over Broadway, if you'd have asked me, okay, Anthony, what I need you to do is you have 6 in last night. We've had a decent weekend. Time was good. HB Liz Shadow was good at the Meadows. You're coming into 6 horses last night. 3 weeks ago, you had 9 in. They raced terrible. Or we 6 or 7 in. They raced terrible. Last Sunday, you had 9 in. Pretty good night. What are your thoughts on last night? Well, Winter Soldier kind of raced the way I thought he would. Had I stayed to the left, followed Aaron out of the hole. Is he right there? Of course he is. Raced pretty good. Bridge Over Broadway. I didn't want to be too arrogant, but and I'm not going to say, she was a walkover, but at no point from the time of entry till last night's video, and you can even hear the tone in my voice in the mile. I knew, and going to the gate, you heard me say, I'm not going to get into a dogfight with Aaron and Justin trying to jostle for position in the first turn. I'm just going to set off the speed, clear to the front, make sure Dan doesn't get ahead of me at any point, and then kind of Bob's your uncle. Well, it didn't even work out that way. She felt great. I looked left leaving the gate. You can see me peer left. The 1 horse is off the gate a bit. The 2 horse doesn't look too aggressive coming out of there. And Bridge just snaps over to the front. The second I made front, I knew it was over, right? And coming to the half, I look on the TV. Dan didn't even move his horse. Aaron's in behind me. Dan's in the 3-hole. They can't win. I was very confident from the first steps off the car. Just as confident at that point as I was going through the wire that she was a winner. And she's just, there's a filly that we paid nothing for. It's been a while since we bought a horse for as little as we bought her for that has made any sort of impact, let alone the impact she has made. I had said to Kathy last night after the race, 3 more wins at Northfield, 2 or 3 wins potentially at Miami Valley. And then if we really like her at that point, still, if she stays fresh, and winning horses do, we can either send her to Mohawk or we can send her to Yonkers, or we can sell her. But at that point, she's already well paid for. At that point, I mean, it's all cake. There's no mistakes made at that point. Wouldn't that be nice if we had 4 or 5 more just like her? So we're always on the lookout for those types of horses, and unfortunately, along the way, you're going to buy Legal Scholars, and you're going to buy Nassau's, and it just happens. You know, you want it to even out and at the end and have effective horses across the board. And I don't have to tell you this. What we need to do is simply put the horses into 2 categories: effective and ineffective. Ineffective, gone. Effective, strengthen, buy more if you can. And that's kind of where we're at, right? And that leads into, you know, the other horses. We had a great win with Bridge Over Broadway. We'll talk about Drebin. We'll talk about Drebin right now. A good mile from, so we start off with the 3rd with Winter Soldier. We end up with a win with Bridge Over Broadway. In between there, we had Drebin. Now, I'm watching, you know, the little clips that Kelly makes afterwards. I'm reading it. I'm like, how the hell did Kelly know he lost a shoe? I said it in my video, but I hadn't posted my video yet. How the hell did she know that? I mean, I know she's sharp, but how the hell would Kelly know that horse lost, that spun off? I didn't listen to the race until after. And Kenny lived good. Well, he was right. The announcer was 100% right. Spun right off his foot. He ripped it right off. Now he wears flip-flops, and I'd say as he was advancing, he just got up underneath that flip-flop, bang, popped it right off. You could see it spin across the track. And if you don't know that, you go back and watch the video. Just as we're coming out of the turn, you can see it go shooting off his foot across the track. It was his shoe. He finished up good, and I don't think it cost him the win. Horse race great. You know, to get away, here's the biggest thing of the whole mile. It wasn't the result. It wasn't anything else. It was the fact that he just behaved. Got away 5th, sat. We won a 2nd quarter in 30 and 4. He didn't run over top of anybody. He didn't cause any mayhem. He just waited to be called on. And raced great. Very, very pleased with Drebin last night. This is a horse a year ago, a few months ago, you would never think that this horse would be able to do at Northfield. And to say confidently, not only can he do, but he's going to be one of the better horses here for a little while. That's a big deal. A big, big deal, and a great job by everybody. You know, I was a little miffed at the blacksmith after that he lost a shoe, but I could see exactly how it happened. And he could have put 19 nails in his foot. It still would have happened. So very happy with the way Drebin raced. So we're having a great night. 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Out comes Greatest Ending. Greatest Ending mauled the bottom class, can beat the 2nd class, can even do in that class. But I didn't post the video because when I post somebody finishing 6th. In the video, you can hear me reference the horses he has to race against last night. In the video finishing up, it's unfair. This is why I hate racing those ladder races I talk about. There are 3 horses that are not far removed from the open pace in that class last night. It's a tough place to do business. Where he is probably 30 claimer, 25 claimer somewhere right now. Except they don't write those here. So, and again, effective, ineffective. 2 different lists. And I think Greatest Ending's another horse that maybe we have to look at moving on. It's not just as easy as moving him. You know, his horse that ties up a little bit, his feet bother him from time to time. We've tried this, and unfortunately, he's just a unique horse, and not in the warm, cuddly, fuzzy way. A unique horse in the sense that he's not easy just to move around. So another horse that might be leaving us in the near future might be Greatest Ending. So with Greatest Ending, and he didn't race bad. He just didn't race great. And then Trosa, you know, I said, do not put that horse in the Open 2. He doesn't belong there. Oh, no problem. We'll put him in your class that isn't filling. And then we're going to combine it with a class below it. But because your horse is better than them, seemingly, we're going to handicap you with the 8-hole. So let me refine my complaint. I will not be asking for the 8-hole, and that's what you would do when you race in a handicap race. You're asking for the 8-hole. I won't be asking for the 8-hole, and won't be racing him over his head. It's just unfair. You can draw 8, but I'm never going to ask for it at Northfield Park. So if he's not getting in a class where he's going to have an open draw in a fair field that he belongs in this week, he won't be racing here. I'll race in Miami Valley or I'll race him at the Meadows, one or the other. So that is Trosa. And then, of course, we finished up the night with Nassau. I've already talked about him in depth. So, you know, for my partners in Nassau, there's going to be Nassau's. And I am one of your partners in Nassau. But it is what it is. I'm not going to get too frustrated until we get his blood work back, and that will only confirm my concerns or confirm that there is issues, one or the other, when it comes to him. So a good night of racing for the most part. We had a great mile from the first three. Winter Soldiers on the rebound and coming back forward. Drebin raced fantastic. Looks like he's going to fit in the open, no problem. A great mile from Bridge Over Broadway. A good mile from Trosa. And the other two horses, Over's Head in Too Tough and big question mark, be answered tomorrow. So that's where we're at right now. We have nothing going today. Nothing. That's why I kind of thought today would be an easy day, but it wasn't. Nothing going today. Some horses in tomorrow. We're finally going to get a look at Bobby. And Bobby is much like Pretty Eyes and Lies and those other horses. She's starting with, when you're 20-1 in a maiden at Northfield, you've got a lot to prove. And I'm hopeful she can, because she's a likable filly and she is much better than she was last year. But is she good enough? I don't know. We're going to find out tomorrow. This is something I had messaged one of those clients this morning, was, and I believe this gentleman had come mostly from the thoroughbred industry. So he had a lot of standardbred questions, and one of them was revolving around one of these horses on their way back. And I said, listen, if we train 10 back and 3 or 4 turn out to be quality animals in their sophomore season, great. If the remaining 6 we can, stick handle our way around the non-winners, condition claimers at the Meadows or at Northfield or wherever, great. But the reality is some of those horses are going to leave, right? And I've talked about Pretty Eyes and Lies. If she doesn't qualify well on Wednesday, she's not going to be staying. And Bobby's in the same boat. Bobby has to come forward also. But as we continue to qualify these horses, I think a lot of people are going to be pleasantly surprised when you see the horses. And unfortunately, there's going to be times where some of our partners, and myself included, are going to be a little disappointed. I talked highly about how I thought Pretty Eyes and Lies were training back. She just needed to turn that corner. And she didn't. But she hasn't yet. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Hopefully she can. Anyway, that is last night in a nutshell. That's today in a nutshell. I got a bunch of horses to jog. We have a rider that was sick. You couldn't tell the dirty look that I got from my wife in the rearview mirror as she saw me talking on a video as she came in the door with a horse. But I am going to get to jogging right now. Appease everyone. I'm going to go train Woodmere Betcha right now. Get her ready, somewhat prepped for Wednesday at Miami Valley, and see if we can't get this day put to bed, at least in the barn. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week. I'm not having a bad start to my week. I averted a disaster with Starbucks. I got all the emails I needed to answer this morning, and well on my way to having everything done that we need done. So take care, everybody. Have a great start to your week. I will talk to you all very soon.